Hey guys, what's going on? This is RJ from Game News USA, and I just got out of watching the new movie Heretic in theaters, and I had some off-the-cuff thoughts about it. So if you're watching this video, if this is your first time on the channel, please remember to subscribe. It really helps a lot, as we're nearing 100 subscribers. Thank you very much. So usually when we do these movie reviews, sometimes we go to Rotten Tomatoes and we read what the reviews are. And especially the ones that, like, I don't personally go see the movie. But in this case, I just got out of watching this movie, so I have a lot of off-the-cuff thoughts about it. I will tell you ahead of time, it's currently sitting at a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 78% audience score, and I think it's about somewhere in between the two. I think the most charitable version of this movie would be in the low 90s, and the least charitable view would be in the high 70s. Now, sometimes when you go to see a movie, you have certain expectations of what you're going to see. Maybe the trailers lead you to believe a certain thing. So, whenever I went in to watch this movie, I immediately thought, is this some kind of maze thing, or they're trying to escape and they're in another dimension thing? I can verify this movie didn't play out this way. It is a grounded in reality movie. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing can only be left up to the viewer. In my case, although it took a different path, I was pleasantly surprised, because I found that this movie was so philosophically interesting to listen to. It wasn't really a horror movie to me in the sense that there wasn't anything that scared me very much. It was more like a psychological thriller, but grounded in reality. And hearing the banter back and forth between our antagonist and our two protagonists was really interesting. Their views on religion and philosophy. It's the kind of stuff that I listen to in my own private time when I'm trying to figure out these tough subjects in the world. Stuff I wouldn't really normally talk about on my YouTube channel, because I'm kind of a, hey, whatever you believe religiously, that's cool, man, we all got our own thoughts sort of person. So, to not try to get into too many spoilers to give you the premise of the movie, these two Mormon young women are going around trying to spread Mormonism and convert people. You know, you've probably seen it before. Mormons knocking on your door, asking to tell you about the Church of Latter-day Saints. Well, that's kind of how this movie starts. Obviously, you know going in, it's some kind of horror movie or psychological thriller, so you know something's afoot. You knew going into this movie that these two girls would be trapped in his house, based on the trailers. These are not any kind of spoilers. Well, they get to the house and they meet a rather intelligent but maybe psycho kind of man, Mr. Reed, who goes on many, many philosophical soliloquies that I find very interesting. Stuff you would see in a lecture hall, more like. So I could see how that immediately can turn some people off from the movie. I'm not surprised at all that reviewers gave it a higher score and the audience gave it a lower score, because I did feel like the movie was meant to appeal to highbrow, whatever that means. And although it did appeal to me, and I personally would give it something like a 9 out of 10, I'll start by saying its fatal flaw, which is that it did lack a lot of pizzazz, a lot of sizzle you would see in theatrical releases these days. I feel like had this movie been released straight to a streaming service, I might have even enjoyed it even more than has a theatrical release. This is not the kind of movie you would take your friends to impress them, or the kind of movie you would take a date on, or the kind of movie that you're just trying to see the best possible graphics or special effects in any way. It's a very low-budget movie, I believe. I can't speak on how the budget is. I'd have to look it up. But to me, it feels like a low-budget movie, but with some really great acting. That's where the movie really shines, is with the antagonist and the way that he speaks to these two women and the ideas that are presented. Several things are floated around in this movie about what could possibly happen. At any point, I felt like maybe we were turning from the grounded reality of something into something supernatural, only to have the rug pulled back and realize they were parlor tricks. Not to try to give any spoilers or anything, but this movie very much was a couple things that I really look for in a modern release that makes it stand out. It's very original. Like, yes, there are scenes in the movie that describe religions copying each other and different iterations of the same thing. Ironically, that's how I feel what is true for movies. And that there's not a lot of original ideas these days in theaters. Well, in this case, this felt like an original idea. Originality goes a long way with me, even if it doesn't fully land. So, it was original. It had great dialogue. You're already 2 out of 3 steps of the way there for me, without even doing anything else. When you have great dialogue, great acting, and originality. But what really I also like is when you don't know what direction a movie is going in. Too often these days, movies can be super predictable about how we get from point A to point B. Even in the case of one of my favorites this year, Smile 2, many people predicted the ending, although they came up with a crazy way to get there. This movie, it was hard to tell until the very end how this movie was going to end exactly. You as the viewer were questioning, what are we seeing? Not that they were hallucinations, but what were we leading to? And what is the overall message of this movie? And I think different people are going to take away different things from the overall message of this movie. But this was a thought-provoking movie as well. Too many movies these days do not provoke the thoughts. Yes, I did like a movie like Imaginary more. But would I consider that thought-provoking? Not really. Speak No Evil was a really fun movie. But thought-provoking? Not really. This was one of the more thought-provoking movies of the year. And so I found myself enjoying this movie differently than I would normal movies. Normal horror movies. And it's not quite for everybody. I can see how it goes straight over people's heads if they're not paying attention and if they're not really into this sort of thing. Or if they have some ironclad religious beliefs that they feel like when they go into the theater, they will feel offended. So I don't recommend this movie for everybody. And the trailers don't do it justice about what it actually covers. But for me personally, I give it 2 thumbs up, and I'll give it a 9 out of 10. So with that being said, guys, that was my personal review of Heretic. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Have you seen this movie? What did you think of it? And until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Peace. Have a good one.